Hi, hello, and welcome to LearnStroke IAS classes by Arjun. You're listening to the editorial analysis for the current affairs for 2024 UPSC exam. This is class number 17, and you're with me, Arjun R. Shankar. Let's discuss what are the important and yes, please don't forget to subscribe our channel and share it with your friends, and do press the bell icon to get the notifications quickly. So get the classes on your feed. So please do that, and let's what are the important topics that we have to discuss. And number one, again, it talks about India Canada ties is actually getting worsened. So very important from the perspective of GS paper 2. So already there is a lot of news regarding this. So now we have to see how has the Indo Canada ties worsened, and what is the impact on the common people and other persons of uh, people who are living in Canada, as well as people who are in India who aspire to go to Canada. So total relationship. And next article is regarding the dependable code of investigation in the criminal justice system. So this is actually in the case of a recent article versus Mr. Rajesh versus state of Madhya Pradesh. So it has actually given few important inputs. This article sounds really difficult to read if you do not have a legal background, but I've just picked out the most important points that we need to know for the UPSC perspective. So again, very important from the perspective of GS paper 2, polity and governance. Polity, governance, law, all this, everything relating to this. And the next important article is regarding the firecracker industry in India, especially Tamil Nadu's Shivakashi, and what is the impact that we need to be having in here. So this again talks about the GS paper 1. This talks about the various aspects of society, Tamil Nadu society, and even GS paper 2, government regulation, and how can we regulate it, and even GS paper 3, economy from the perspective of employment and the revenue that is being generated, how it is contributing to the economy, because it is even said 90% of the firecrackers that we burn in India come from South India, especially in Tamil Nadu, Shivakashi. So these are the important articles we have to see. Let's quickly move on to the first important one. It's frosty ties, again, GS paper 2, international relationship between India and Canada. What is the relationship? Again, Canada cut down visa services. So always understand at this point you need to know India, and here we have Canada. So it's very pretty clear that these days the relationship between India and Canada has worsened, because it's this person Niger's killing. So India calls Niger as KTF or Khalistani terrorist force. He's actually called as a terrorist. It's actually banned, and he lives in Canada. And what happens is Canada, we have already taken an explain wala on Indo-Canada problem. So if you're watching it new, please go to our YouTube channel and watch the explain wala on India-Canada. Complete things on Khalistan, who is Niger, and what is the Five Eyes intelligence. What is the Five Eyes intelligence? So what happens is Canada got an intelligence from the Five Eyes that it is the Indian agents, most probably in the movies like Indian raw agents or whoever they are. They call it as the Indian agents who kill Niger, and that is why Canada and India are having problem. What did Canada do? Canada dismissed or threw back a lot of Indian diplomats back. India again is responding to this. So what happens is in India, you know that people nowadays, even in India, a lot of people are migrating to Canada for better opportunities. And historically, you can see the Sikh population, especially people from Punjab, it is always a very most popular destination for Sikh people in Canada. People say you can see another Punjab in Canada. So this relationship, everything is now suffering. So this is in short the brief of the article. Let's apply the IS filter, and let's get the most important points out here. So there is definitely increased tension due to disputes. You can see the Canadian national Khalistani Hardeep Singh Nijjar murder assassination has caused a lot of strain. What has done? The killing of this Khalistani activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar has caused a strain. So that is point number one. And again, it talks about downsizing of the diplomatic staff. So what is happening here? India has decided to significantly reduce the number of Canadian diplomats in India. Very, very important. So India is going to cut down the Canadian diplomats in India, and they said go back because Canada apparently also cut down Indian diplomats and asked them to leave Canada. So Canada did this to us, and India is actually cutting down. And from 62, they have cut down the force to almost 21. So also almost 21, and even majority of them have been asked to go back, and even their diplomatic immunity will be taken over. So that is something. So all these are very sad state between India and Canada. So Canada is, in response to India's action, what is Canada doing? Canada is also reducing its diplomatic presence in India. And as a result, Canada has announced that it will no longer provide in-person visa. Canada will not provide in-person visa uh, at the services and the consulate due to staffing shortages. So it will not allow in-person visa services at its consulate. So that they say it's due to the staffing shortage, but definitely it's not that actually. India issued an ultimatum for Canada. If they are not getting on this, we are giving an ultimatum. Do it immediately to downsize its diplomatic staff by 31, threatening to withdraw the diplomatic immunity if demand is not met. So you know that the most important, wonderful thing to be in the IFS is to majority you get the diplomatic immunity at times. So India has threatened that we will take away the diplomatic immunity if you are not cooperating, if you do not downsize. And Canada, on the other side, said this is a violation of Article 11.1 of the Vienna Convention. So, what is this Vienna Convention, and why are the international community countries really following this? What are the reasons for that? Needs to be found out. So, please do find out about Vienna Convention. Please do prepare Vienna Convention for the next year's prelims. And so, this is the important things about India-Canada issue. And again, diplomatic efforts to diffuse the situation, including meeting between leaders and officials from both the countries, have not led to a resolution. So it's not getting anywhere. We are not able to diffuse the situation. And mediation attempts by Canada's Five Eyes allies have also been unsuccessful. So India has always said the Five Eye allies have created one big time issue because they supplied the intelligence that India is behind the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. So again, diffusing the issue has become a problem, and the ongoing diplomatic dispute has consequence from who are the people who are suffering. Students, tourists, business person from both the countries are facing problems relating to visa services. So all the people are suffering from this. Again, these are the important points that we have to remember in this. And quickly moving on to an important question on GS paper 2, law, governance, polity, because this is a slightly difficult article for people who do not understand law and people who do not appreciate, who do not like to read about law. Because whenever people do not like, actually, whenever you see such cases, Rajesh AN versus State of Madhya Pradesh, whenever you see all those things, people do not like this. Do you feel like that? If you do not like polity articles, Madhya Pradesh, you do not understand this concept. So I'm not going into the detail of all those things, but I'm trying to bring the most important points. So one is, it talks about Article 27 of not the Indian Constitution. It talks about Article 27 of Indian Evidence Act. Very, very important. These are the important things that we have to study. It talks about Article 27 of our Indian Evidence Act. So like we know, like the Constitution, we have the CRPC, CPC, other important acts. So Indian Evidence Act is often mentioned. We do not have to learn completely all these things, but whenever there is an important mention, you need to know what this act is capable of. And it also, the article also talks about police reforms, especially the police reforms and the way investigations are actually handled in India. Again, this talks about the various investigations and how investigations happen in India. And definitely we need to have the police reforms. So all these are the important crux of the article that we are trying to pull in. So let's understand, apply the IS filter and get the important points like Article 27. So this is the context. The Supreme Court of India recently set aside the conviction of 3 accused individuals involved in a murder. They've actually set aside the case of 3 people who are allegedly involved in a murder case, and the need for consistent and dependable code of investigation. So they say that investigation, do you think that all the cases that we are in India are properly investigated? So this court said that we should make sure that the guilty do not escape justice due to technicalities. So whatever proof or evidence that we give, the most important thing is we need to have a proper investigation, and police reform is very, very important in this. So not going into the case, but definitely it talks about article section 27. It was not article, sorry, it was section 27 of Indian Evidence Act 1872. So sorry, I said article 27, so it's section 27. So just understand in short what is section 27. Let me very briefly tell you about it's the evidence obtained as a consequence information. So it talks about information. Let me draw it very clearly. Imagine that you are a person and you are giving an information regarding an information, you are giving an information relating to crime. Imagine that you are giving an information relating to crime, or anything that you're giving information. This information can be treated as valid in normal terms. If you have seen something, if you have an information that will, you can actually break the case, you give out that information. So this is one important thing. And imagine that if you are in this is situation A. If you are in the situation B, this is my drawing and I hope you don't mind. Okay, this is the situation B, where you are giving the information, you are also giving the information, you're giving the info, but you are under arrest. You are under arrest, and in that case, is that information that you give, should that be taken, is that valid? Because can you take the information of a person who is actually under arrest? Then that also brings us to an important question. When is a situation that you are under arrest? If the police people take you simply to question, does it mean that you are under arrest? Or what is the procedure of arresting you? So this is basically about information and whether it is valid or not. And that is the reason why we said we need better codes of investigation. As Supreme Court said, we need dependable code of investigations where there are no loopholes so that guilty people are punished. So this whole scenario that I've just told is nothing, the most simple way of, I might be wrong in explaining, but this is the most simple way of understanding. It's not section 27 of Indian Evidence Act. So I think let's now go and take the definition of that. So section 27 deals with the admissibility of facts discovered as a consequences of information received from a person accused of an offense while in police custody. If that person is actually accused of an offense, he is in the police. Please remember the points. Admissibility of what? Number one, of facts, of information received by a person while he is in custody. This section allows for certain statements of information to be admissible as an. This also calls it can be admissible in the court in certain conditions. So the Supreme Court discussed the admissibility of evidence obtained as a consequence of information received from a person accused of any offense while in police custody. So if that person is actually in police custody, what is the level of that? It contends that a person is not considered in police custody. So who is actually in police custody? Is not in police custody until formally arrested and accused of an offense. However, this interpretation may not be legally. So please, this article talks about this arrest of a person, and please understand the first thing that you should remember is the information. If you are in police custody due to an offense, should that be taken or not? So this is one important aspect that the editorial talks about. There are many other cases reference that may not be important for civil services, but and also the article said you should definitely comply with a lot of provisions regarding CRPC relating to search and seizure during investigation. So why Supreme Court asking for a better investigation? Just like in movies, you must have seen that this is the house of a person, and the police actually does an investigation. They actually search, raid, and seizes a lot of things from the house during the raid. So the court say that you cannot do it according to your fancy. There should be importance of compliance. You should comply with what CRPC's relevant sections for search and seizure, and non-compliance with these sections should not affect the reliability of the evidence. So again, uh, rather than creating a reliability, it's better that you keep comply with the CRPC procedures also. And again, just the article talks about Justice Malimat Committee report and the Law Commission. So please remember this committee, the Malimat Committee report and the Law Commission, which states that police investigations in India, it states that poor investigations is a significant factor contributing to low conviction rate. If you see that the crime, if you see X, this person called X is not convicted, it's not convicted, or he's not put inside the jail. This person is not put inside the jail or is not convicted because he's not inside the jail because the conviction rate is low, the investigation is really bad. You do not do the proper type of investigations. So that is the reason why we need to have modern scientific investigation that should happen. So that is the one point that it action. And also the article calls for police reforms. You should definitely do police reforms. And what is the police reform? Is to separate investigative and law and order functions of the police. Very, very important. So that is one thing that it is actually calling for. Just as I said, is it good to give higher law and order powers to police officer or police officers? So that case, you should see that you should separate investigative and law and order functions, and which some states have adopted while others are yet to implement this fully. So you can see that the police reforms involve challenges such as inadequate staffing. So these are some of the police. We do not have the proper staffing system. The crime rate is so high, we do not have the proper staffing and we do not have the proper resources. While several states have initiated measures to separate investigative and law and order functions, additional staff allocation. So these are the problem. Inadequate staffing, resources, and most important, separate. You need to separate this. On the one side, we need to have the investigation should be separate, law and order should be separate, and we need to have a code of investigation, a better code of investigation where police acts perfectly, and if you need to act well, you need to have proper staffing, resources, etc. So this is, and before we go into the question, the Supreme Court said should play a more proactive role in ensuring the compliance of its directives. So what it is asking is Supreme Court and states at this side. It is the states. Supreme Court should act well and ask the states to ensure the compliance of its directive. So whatever rules and regulations we have, ask the state to clearly follow that, and also investigation standards. There should be consistency in court ruling unless early done. So please do remember, we'll just take this. Ensuring the compliance of its directive by states on investigation standards and other issues. So we need to have a very good investigative standards. Supreme Court should ask the states to follow that very strictly. So that is the rough thing about this article. There is an urgent need for a consistent and dependable code of investigation in India with proper CRPC. We should see with proper CRPC and proper following of Indian Evidence Act. Whatever be the important regulations, the proper investigation should happen. What has been the Supreme Court's interpretation on Article Section 27 of Indian Evidence Act, right in the light of recent incidents? What challenges and issues did Supreme Court raise regarding the police reforms and separation of investigative and law and order functions in India? I think you will be able to answer this question clearly. And moving on to the next important article is again sparks of danger. It is actually the section called Ground Zero, and we are discussing about Tamil Nadu and Shivakashi and the firecracker industry. The firecracker industry. Again, it's also very you can note this. Even there are important provisions like is firecracker burning. There has been a lot of debate in the recent years regarding the environmental pollution of firecrackers. So I think you must have read about all this. And now let's look at the other important aspects. Apply the IAS filter and quickly take the points. So a background on the firecracker industry. So Tamil Nadu is the leading, particularly the place Shivakashi is also known for paper printing also. It's known as the firework capital of India. And industry began in the early 20th century, very old, and it accounts for 90%, as I said in the beginning of the article. 90% of the firework production in India happens here. Wherever we have Diwali celebrations coming in, we actually burn this cracker. So all this credit goes to Shivakashi, and the hard work goes to the people who work in this industry. And you can see that the most important thing is majority of the factories that create firecracker, the most important aspect is going to be the safety of all this industry. It's going to be the safety of all this industry, and also the regarding the safety and the work standards about the workers. So what do we have the proper licenses to operate all these firecrackers and explosives? Because majority of them are also misusing this fire explosive licenses. And regarding the license and the safety, and majority of them are also, the units that they work are also unrecognized units. So you can say that often small unregulated unrecognized units are set up in Tamil Nadu because it's a very viable industry. The rise of these small firecracker units has led to safety concerns. So that is the number one. And proper supervision. Many of them operate without supervision, without monitoring, and even official inspection. You just make crackers and you just crack it off. So this has resulted in a spate of accidents, including explosions in a licensed and unlicensed unit. So there are so many unlicensed units. We've just remembered the important a place in Munger where we have seen in Bihar where guns were sold on the streets. There was an article in Hindu long time back. So even the licensed people and unlicensed people in the backyard of their houses, they are making guns in India. So similarly, you can see whether they are licensed or unlicensed, accident, they make the gun, they make the explosives. And the accidents have been also attributed to stockpiling of chemicals above limits and inexperience. So above limits is the word. So even if there is a license, definitely there is a limit for which you can actually create this. And beyond this limit, what happens is people are even creating that. So whereas the problem is there is no supervision, there is no proper monitoring, and no official inspections also. So this is showing the important problems of firecracker industry. And please do remember what is PESO. This can be asked in the current affairs. This can be a question for the prelims. This can be a question for the mains. It's Petroleum and Explosive Safety Organization. Authorities responsible for monitors such as PESO are often short-staffed and unable to conduct thorough inspection. So PESO, the articles say the PESO is understaffed. It's not able to do a lot of inspections, and many small units go unregulated, especially during the off season. In the off season, you can create a lot of things and sell it in the season. The spread of these units poses a significant challenge to safety and regulations. So the problem is unlicensed unit. Many unlicensed units are working. So series of accidents has raised concern about the industry's safety. The government is responding by emphasizing the need for trained workers. Number one, stricter monitoring, eradication of illegal units, periodical inspections, enforcement actions. So what are the government response means? 3 points: more safety, trained workers, stricter monitoring, stricter evaluation, eradication of illegal unlicensed units, periodical inspection, and strong enforcement actions if they are not taking that. So if you do this, definitely there is going to be a big time relief in this firecracker industry. So please also find out what are the environmental impact of firecrackers, and definitely we have already discussed other important aspects too. So again, giving a question: how is the safety of firecracker units monitored and regulated by authorities, and what are the challenges they face in enforcing safety measures? What recent incidents in the firecracker industry have raised concerns, and how is the government responding to improve safety and regulation in this sector? I think you can answer this question clearly. So I think we have come to the end of the session, and please do watch more of the videos and subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. So prepare well, try to answer the questions also, and best wishes, keep preparing.